I said, I will be prepared if I don't see your face there. So he texted me about 5 and said he's not going to make it. So you get to hear the old standby. If you will, turn to James. James, the 1st chapter. James 1 and 2 says, My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience, but let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God, who gives it to all liberally, without reproach, and it will be given to him. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting. For he who doubts is like the wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For let not that man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. Patience, trying of our faith, trying to be perfect, trying to be lacking in nothing as a child of God. Man, you say it sounds so easy, right? Just do it. Just keep going. That's kind of the message, the overall message. Keep going. Don't stop. Uses it there in verse 6, but let him ask in faith with nothing or with no doubting. For he who doubts is like the wave of the sea driven and tossed by the wind. I thought about this verse a whole lot in my life. When I was in the Navy, the last deployment I had, I was on the USS Abraham Lincoln. Some of you can appreciate that. It's a really big ship. It's a Nimitz class carrier. That means it's propelled by stuff that makes bombs. It's pretty intense. They take uranium and they put it in these little tubes. And they house these little tubes and they make it so it heats water up. Now this small fuel load can propel this ship 20 to 25 years without refueling. This ship is about 1,092 feet long. And that's on the deck, the flight deck, you might say. This thing is over 252 feet from the bottom of the ship to the top. It's a really big ship. The last time I was on there, I was just supposed to catch some jets. And that means so I just went out and I was a mechanic. When I first got on the ship, in '96, I was what you call the lowest scum on the run. I mean, I was walking around with 9 chains on me all the time. And when a plane would land, I'd run out there and I'd slap some chains on it. And it had 3 chains tying it down at the front. So there's 3 main mounts on the jet. There's the back 2 tires, you might say, and then there's the front, the landing gear. 3 chains on it all the time, unless the jet is ready to fly. So I got really good at running around on top of a ship with about 60 pounds on me. And this ship, now we air wing guys called it the boat. We got reprimanded a lot for that. It's not a boat, it's a ship. This is a big boat. To put it into perspective, so it's propelled, I told you, by this nuclear reactors. Has 2 nuclear reactors, which propels 4 steam turbines. These 4 steam turbines propel 4 propellers. Now these propellers, if you look at them out of the water, I can't remember the dimensions on them, but they would make this building look small. Each each propeller, puts out approximately 260,000 horsepower apiece. It's impressive. It's an impressive ship. You can go 30 knots in this thing. So the thing in the military, we can have an air wing anywhere in the world in 24 hours to keep our freedom secure, you know. We can do it. And it's all on it's all with these ships and all in this ocean. 30 knots is about 35 miles an hour. It's not very fast. But when you're going on the ocean, it seems really fast. So you have to go to a certain speed when you're launching airplanes to fly. You know, if you know anything about gliding, you have to have the same air pressure on top as you do below the wing, so it'll glide. These jets are flying, and they have 2 engines that about 19,000 pounds of thrust per engine per square inch. This thing is holds about when it's fully loaded, about 5,200 ship crew. So there's about 3,800 people who are attached to the ship all the time. When it's fully loaded, ready for war, you might say, 3,500 people. In this ship, there's barbershops, there's stores, it's just crazy. It's a floating city. From the water line. From the water line to the flight deck is about 135 feet. That's a long ways down. I was on this ship in 2000, I'm sorry. 2000 was the last time I was on it. And it was in the springtime. There were storms. We knew there were storms. And I'm just waiting to get flown off at this point. I've done my job. There's a plane waiting for me, and they call it a cod. And it just delivers mail, picks people up, delivers stuff. And I'm just like, come on, let's get these fly-ups done. Well, come on to 1MC, and it says, chain everything down, boys, get everything prepared, we're going right in the middle of it. And this is from our leading petty. And that tells us we know we're going right into a storm. And so we're chaining everything down, and I'm like, guys, I'm just waiting on my airplane to get ready to be going, and I'm helping do all this stuff. I'm supposed to be out of the Navy in 6 months. And here it comes. And so I go to the room, I'm just waiting. We're still receiving airplanes. And we start pitching and rolling. Now, this ship is really big, but it's on this ocean. That's even bigger. F-18s were the last ones to come in. I was an F-14 guy. They were really old, so they called them in first. They kind of chained down. F-18s were coming in, the last airplane of the day. And he comes on approach, and we're watching it. There's a TV. I'm just waiting, you know, and we're giving it this, you know. And they wave him off. If you ever watch Top Gun or anything, you know, wave off, come around. So he circles back around. And it's just giving it this. And I'm like, this is not good. They should send him to the shore. We don't know where we're at. We're just floating around the sea. And I'm like, all of us mechanic guys, there's too much stress. It's not going to work. And he comes in, and they wave him off. And what's he do? He's like, no, I'm coming in. And he hits, and when he hits, that boat rolls, and it hits that one main mount, and it blows it out. Poof, and it spins out. You see him eject? And so he ejects out there. That's what they're taught to do. And they're sitting on about 4 sticks of dynamite, pretty much. And it blasts him way up in the sky, and you see his parachute, the canopy deployed. It's still 135 feet from the top of the ship. And I'm thinking, yes. And And so I'm like, okay, how long is this gonna take? In 9 minutes, they got the plane crash. It's all out of the way. I say, Walters, you're up. My plane's ready. I just saw this plane crash. I'm like, don't we need refuel or something? Come on, Walters, it's time to go. This verse flew through my mind. Lord, I need everything you can give me right now. I need everything because I'm like this wave. This wave that is cascading water on the flight deck of this ship. It was huge. These guys are like, yeah, let's go. It's awesome. I needed patience. I needed wisdom. I needed everything you could throw at me. What does that mean when he talks about letting, in verse 6, let him ask in faith with no doubting. Don't waver. At that moment, I'm going to confess to you, I asked and I was wavering. I was thinking, I've got a daughter at home. How can this happen right now? I need patience. I need trust. But Lord, the waves are really big. We were being tossed to and fro, and I realized God is awesome. He created this ocean that we're floating on. He created this life that I'm having such a panic attack about, getting on this little airplane with 2 propellers that I don't think can get us off this ship. Verse 8 there, it says, he is a double-minded man, unstable in his ways. Who? The one that asks, he doesn't really believe. He wavers. He's a double-minded man. Turn, if you will, over to Luke. Luke 9. Luke 9 here, toward the end of that, 57, might say the cost of following Jesus. Now it happened as they journeyed on the road, someone said to him, Lord, I'll follow you wherever you go. Jesus said to him, foxes have holes, birds of the air have the nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Why am I bringing this up? When I was on that ship, I was asking everything. Why? What? So let me give you a little bit more. Before the storm hit, when we're catching F-14s, the F-14s were set to be decommissioned in the next 5 years. So we've got everybody's color coded. You wear all these vests and shirts, purple, brown, yellow. So I was a green shirt. And I'm out there and I'm over my little crew. Guys, watch out. You got the new guys. Get over here. Don't do that. So we see a guy, they go, Walters, what's that dude doing? And we look across, and you can't walk across the ship from port to starboard because there's this tower up there. If you do, boy, they'll have your eye. And this purple shirt, so they're the refuelers. He's standing up over there watching these airplanes going, yeah. And he's just digging it. And about that time, you see, if you know the workings of the airplanes and everything, you see a yellow shirt, and he goes like that. That means turn. The airplane turns, and when that exhaust, remember I said, 2 engines produced about 19,000 pounds of thrust per square inch. It shoots him over the ship like a feather, except he goes a lot faster than a feather. You know what the ship does? The USS Abraham Lincoln does not slow down. I'm like, oh, man overboard. Chief says, are you sure? Man overboard, I say. Where's he at? He's not there now. Man overboard, man overboard. Everything shuts down, except for the ship. The ship's still steaming ahead. Planes are circling. They launched that search and rescue helicopter. We get a little ways. Everybody's accounted for in about 9 minutes. It's amazing. The military's pretty amazing. We resumed flight ops. I had never seen that. I had never seen a guy get blown over and shot off about 135 feet. We get word about 30 minutes later, a destroyer behind us picks him up. We're like, how? Is he dead? No, he's fine. 3 broke ribs and a dislocated shoulder. He's great. I'm thinking I'm going to be that guy. This airplane's going to go down. I was 16 when I became obedient to the gospel of Christ. I did not count the cost properly. Some of you told me, you know what you're getting in? The church, yeah. If you counted the cost. Yeah, I'm going to be like y'all. The cost was, wherever you go, you might have to leave some things behind. You might have to leave some people behind. Jesus told this guy here, foxes have holes, birds have the nest, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head. Then he said to another, follow me, but he said, Lord, let me first go and bury my father. Count the cost. Jesus said to him, let the dead bury the dead, their own dead. But you go and preach the kingdom of God. You're busy. Can you hear that verse echo in your head? Do you love me more than these? Do you love me more than? Jesus said, well, verse 61. And another also said, Lord, I will follow you, but let me first go and bid them farewell who are at my house. Jesus said to him, no one, having put his hand to the plow and looking back, is fit for the kingdom of God. It's amazing in times of distress, the things that run through your mind. I was 24, from 16 to 24, and I was thinking, what kind of Christian are you? Worried about worldly things. But he said, your soul is saved. You confess me before men, I'll confess you before my Father. You know the thing about plowing, though? When you get to the end of the road, what do? Many of you farmed way more than me. You turn around and you go back. And you see that road. And Dad always said, you know, when you take off plowing, you really want to turn around and look at it. That's what he's saying here. Don't do that. Because when you do, it messes up. you got a really crooked road. And Paul he's talking about the church, he's talking about, well, in 1 Corinthians 11, if you want to turn there, 1 Corinthians 11:28. I should do that instead of trying to quote it. 1 Corinthians 11:28. So he's talking about the Lord's Supper here. He's talking about when they take it worthily. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of the cup. We're to examine ourselves. That doesn't mean turn around and look. Christ was meaning, don't turn around and look at all the stuff of the world that you think you left behind. Don't look at it with, you might say, envy or regret. Paul says when you think of Christ, examine yourself. Also in 2 Corinthians 13, here at the end of this book, 2 Corinthians 13, there in verse 5, examine yourselves as to whether you are in the faith. Test yourself. Examine yourself and know yourself. Where are we at in our walk with Christ? Where are you at in your walk with Christ? I'll tell you, at 49, I'm a lot less physical minded, you might say, than I was at 24. At 24, I thought I was a lot better than I was at 16. At 30, even at 30, I was a lot better than I was at 24. At 40, I remember when I turned 40, and I was like, I got this. And then 41 hit. Wherever you're at, you're going to have difficulties. You're going to have things that you think are going to capsize. Life is going to happen. You're going to think it's going to get me. What do I do, Lord? What do I do? There is an untapped resource in every congregation across this country. And it's sitting behind you, in front of you, and across the aisle. When you are weak, reach out to your brother or sister. There's somebody in the congregation that can help you, that can steer you through, that can say, easy, Dave. Even if this plane crashes, you're so safe with God. It's okay. It's okay if this happens. You're still safe. Walking on that ship, the first time I ever walked on that ship, man, I got chewed out so many times. Because I was doing silly stuff, there's little painted lines everywhere, and I step across them, and you gotta go see the air boss. It's just a lot of trouble. You get chewed out, and you're talked to like you've never been talked to in your life. I didn't have these things that were really valuable. Sea legs. Sea legs. And they said, Walt, just get your sea legs into you. And I said, okay. That's all I got. That's all I was issued. Well, sea legs, if you've ever been on a cruise, you know you get them in a few days. After the first day, you get them. The ship's pitching and rolling, and you just know, bend your knees a little bit. It's all right. You just keep walking. If you try to walk like you're walking on land, you'll fall. And it's going to hurt because there's this anti-skid painted all over the deck. And it just chews your hands up like hamburger meat. Sometimes we don't have that person, or we neglect to use that person that says, get your sea legs on. Use your sea legs. Or sometimes Grant will tell me, Dave, get your sea legs on. And I'll say, I don't know what you're talking about. We've got to listen to each other, especially those who have gone before us, those who have the experience. Let's utilize them. What do we older people do with the youth? We love to use their zeal, don't we? We love to use their energy. That's one thing the church needs. But the church really needs all you people who have gray hair, who are losing hair, who are down on your back, who have aches and pains, and who have experience to help each other and help guide these youth. Because no matter how many times you tell them, as Tammy says, I'll say, I've already had that conversation with you. She'll say, okay, have it again. Have it again. Don't harp on somebody, but be there for them and say, look out for that pothole. Look out for this, because I do remember conversations that we've had, some of you older ones, and you told me, Dave, look out for it. Dave, count the cost, because it's going to cost you whatever. I do remember those. And you do remember those too. And these youth will too, because we've got some really good youth. We've got some really good experience. Let's use it. Count the cost when we go to follow Jesus. Don't turn around and look back at the things that we might have had, the things that you think you might wish you would have had, because the abundance in Christ is way more than what we've left behind. Stop and examine it. Look at it. And be confident in your faith and your walk with Christ. And keep looking ahead. The big overall message, keep going. Don't stop. I didn't want to get on the airplane. I didn't want to go to the surgery. I didn't want to go to the funeral. I didn't want to go whatever. Keep going. Keep going, because everybody's rooting for you. Everybody's behind you. There's a song selected if you would like to be part of the kingdom, or if you would like to have prayers in the church. Either, case we know, come out and see on the front row and sing.